Fausto, you know that the international cooperation project, it's very important to enable the others to achieve their objectives. So in these cases, you work with a team, the team of EOGAD and the team of Italian TV. You are coming back now after having done the work with them. I want to know, have you been able to achieve your objectives? Have you been able to enable the others to achieve their objective?
We helped them in achieving their objectives and facilitated them in trying to tape and also do the interviews which they wanted to. But when it came to the EOGAD team to do the kind of interviews and stories we wanted to do, there was little help from their side in trying to understand what is it that we wanted to communicate.
Clarify.
What I mean is, they had a preconception of how stories should be done. They believe that since they have been in the communication sector for more than 20, 30 years, they know what the viewers want to see. Our idea was to change a bit that. Try and communicate messages which are different and communicate them differently. Not the usual way, not because something spectacular so that people look at the TV and then you just give a message. No, give a message, and the message is important, and then the viewer will get interested. But they did not believe that our approach was right, because we were people on the ground, whereas they were people who communicated to the public through the media. So we were inexperienced, they were experienced.
Do you think that was true, what they said?
It is true they're experienced, but it is not true that there's only one way of communicating. We are trying to understand if it's possible to communicate differently. And in this in this difficult task, we need their help in helping us communicate differently.
So why do you think they find it difficult to help you to communicate differently? Why do you think that in these cases, let's say, you felt used by them, but you don't think that you could use them? Is that the feeling you have?
I felt a bit used, but I think there was a lack of capacity in going out of the box. They wanted to get out of the box. They wanted to approach themes differently, communicate differently, but they was scared maybe.
Scared of what?
Scared that the viewer might just not view, because
Scared of what? Scared of what?
Scared that the viewer might not just be captivated to what we are saying. This is the way we do things. This is the way we know that people will look. If you change the way, you're not sure of the outcome.
Okay, it's not sure of the outcome, but why not to try? Why not to try that also? We made a point that we will make something safe that they can show to the television. We made that point. But also that we are trying something else. So I think you helped them to say what they wanted to say to the normal public. Why do you think they were not able to help you to go beyond that?
It is the capacity of, it's the lack of, there is motivation, but with motivation, the courage needed to communicate differently is not coming.
So Fausto, now you are back from the field. You've been shooting for 2 weeks. How have you been able to achieve your objective? Have you been able to record the kind of material that you wanted to record? Especially I'm concerned about how was the team dynamics. We have a team coming from Italian television and a team coming from the European project. They are different teams with different cultures, but we wanted them to work together. How was the team relationship? Have you been able to add value to each other?
I think the dynamics was good. We were able to add value to each other also. But there was a problem which came in when we had to facilitate the other in achieving their objectives. We, I believe, facilitated them as much as possible in trying to bring out stories the way they want to bring out stories. The problem came when we wanted to tackle those same issues with a different way of communicating them. They've been in the field for a long time and they have a way of communicating. they were using the same way. Now the project wishes to communicate differently, give the viewer a chance to and give the viewer and ourselves a chance to see, is it possible to communicate differently? Now that is where we face the problem. They believe that since they were on the field for so long, they know better what the viewer wants to see. And it was difficult for them.
Datevi la luce. Datevi la luce. Sì.
Ma quando va la luce poi non c'è più tempo.
Questo rec di nuovo?
With the dynamics which happened in the team, I'm very pleased by the fact that, taking the spirit of cooperation, I feel that we were able to enable them in achieving their objectives, their way of telling the story. But in the same spirit, I think they're being a bit scared made them not really help us in achieving our objectives. Now, what is it that they were scared about? They were scared of communicating to the public a different way of telling stories. They felt that if we approach themes differently, the viewers will not be interested. At the same time, they're also interested in doing a project which communicates differently. But it's difficult for them to come out from the box. They've been 30 years in the communication and media sector. They've worked in that way. Trying something different is difficult. Also because you're not sure of the outcome. But the project believes that, let us try. Let us at least try. There is
yes, that's the point which surprises me. We made an agreement that something will be done by the Italian television in the usual manner to please the public, because they have to come back with a product for Italian television. But we believe also that we also go beyond that. We also try to do something beyond that. So it was fine that they were doing what you said, pleasing the public. But why didn't they support you in going beyond that? Why couldn't they do both?
They felt that we, being people on the field, people who work in the development sector, and not people who work in the communication sector, we know less on how best to communicate. They want to approach themes differently, but not communicate differently.
What do you mean?
They want to bring out positive news, they want to bring out stories which give a capacity of a different kind of understanding to the public, not just the usual story. And that's what we are working on. But they're approaching those themes with the same way they usually approach the media, the negative media. The difficulties coming in trying to communicate positive media in a different way, in a way which is more, that creates a more relationship.
What would you like to communicate? I mean, just make a point. I understood the basic things that you're telling me. But what do you think that you would like to communicate that we're not following you?
For example, we went to an ashram in Coimbatore and we wanted to understand the link between spirituality and development. If an inner search leads to a desire of mutual growth.
If?
An inner search leads to a desire of mutual growth.
No, this please repeat it, it's not clear. A desire of mutual growth.
Ok, no va bene. Sintetizzo.
No.
For example.
Più short. Vai
For
subito
example.
to the point.
For example, we went to Coimbatore. For example, we went to Coimbatore to understand it from an ashram if there is a link between spirituality and development. Now, this is a difficult question. How do you tackle it? For them, it was more about bringing in rituals, bringing up festivities, the glamour, the fire and the dancing, the drums, and less about really trying to understand from the people involved in the ashram, but also from the people who come to the ashram, if there is this link between spirituality and development.
Between spirituality and social commitment.
Social commitment. Also, I mean, social commitment, development in the sense of projects for development. It's schooling, it is irrigation, it can be...
So that was lost. That was lost.
That, it was not tackled deeply. It was tackled superficially. What was more researched were the rituals.
Why? I understand that that is a part of it, but why not to try to tackle it more deeply?
Because they felt that the viewer will be more captivated to the TV if there are these very elaborated rituals, which usually you don't see in the Western daily life. They are much more different, and they're much more easy to look at. For a person to captivate them in a dialogue which is oriented to a better and deeper understanding, it's much more difficult.
Clear. Now, next time, I will be in the team. This time I wanted to see the two teams working together without my direction. Give me some suggestion. How should I direct the team so I can tackle the teams more deeply? So that I can take those risks that we are talking about that you didn't take this time.
See, their problem was to come out from the box. That they had a difficulty, though a desire was there. I think we need to remind them and also keep a continuous dialogue on why is it that we are trying to communicate differently. And whenever we go to a project, to a person, always tell them again that we want to communicate differently. Let us see if this is possible or not.